Money ultimately is a belief system. If people believe money has a particular amount of value, then it becomes a thing. So people who believe, for example, in the dollar, they're essentially believing that the US government will honor the value of the dollar and they'll be able to trade it at a relatively stable price. But if you look at any country that's gone through an economic collapse, maybe because they've printed too much money or been careless with their economy, whatever the fault of it, and they've got to hyperinflation, what happens in those countries is they do not want to hold the local currency. So we've got this happening in Venezuela. This has started happening in Turkey at the moment, where people are choosing to hold other currencies other than Tele. This happened in Zimbabwe, where they had like this hyperinflation. And when that happens, what that's saying is that the people in that country no longer believe in the currency, and therefore that currency loses value. This is no different from something like Bitcoin. Bitcoin only has value if as a collective, we decide it has value. This is the same with everything, by the way. Nothing inherently has value. It's the value you assign to it. But if enough people believe that something is worth a lot of money or worth something, then it does become worth something. So if all of a sudden people turn around and said, you know what, this Bitcoin stuff is nonsense, Bitcoin would go to zero. The thing is, Bitcoin is a great store of wealth. And the reason why Bitcoin is probably the most valuable of all the other, coins, because where a lot of those shit coins are basically cash grabs, Bitcoin is a limited supply coin. And we've never had a sort of zero trust money system. It's always been controlled centrally, and Bitcoin is an algorithm that says there will be no more printing of this money. There's X amount of tokens that can ever be mined. Okay. So if you own, as long as people still believe it in the future, if you own one Bitcoin today, it's probably going to get more valuable as all the Bitcoins get mined. Now, once all the Bitcoin gets mined, then it's good. Like I said, it's all mined, and therefore, as long as people are still using it, as it's mostly used as a store of currency, as a store of value, as opposed to a currency, in all fairness. But as long as people believe in that value, it would always maintain its value. At least it's not going to get diluted like all the fiat currencies, because they're constantly printing money. Like I said, as they print money, you get poorer because they're devaluing your currency. With Bitcoin, that can't happen, and it's traded across borders. So there's so many advantages to Bitcoin, which is why it's valuable. But again, if one day people decide, to move on from Bitcoin, maybe they go to another coin, which is maybe faster or still limited supply or whatever, then yeah, you could lose all your money in Bitcoin if people lose faith in it. Like I said, money is a system of belief.